Yeah, everybody that didn't skate this morning skated full yesterday.
Then looking at the series, we talk about how every series has its own identity. How quickly into a game one do you get a feel for how a series is going to be?
Well, you hope by the end of the first period. I think both coaches would like that if you came and did what you wanted to do. The first game is a great place to learn. And it happened to it. It's really in each one of our first series. But you took it game two. Tampa had changed some things they did in game one, and they were really. It was an overtime game. And then we had to do the same with Boston. Got beat 5-1, 5-1. So there'll be lots of video. We'll try to learn as much as we possibly can tonight. We have an idea of what we look like, what our strengths are. So you want to see that tonight. And if one of your strengths isn't there, you'll ask the question, why? What is it? Is that us or is that them? And then you make your assessment from there.
Left side, front row.
Hey, Coach, a two-parter both on Sam Bennett. Just since he's come back from the injury, how would you evaluate his play? And then moving him to the line with Etu and Erod, that wasn't a line we saw much in the regular season. I don't really feel like we saw much at all. Just the adjustments having to be made this late in the season, learning a new line, and just what you think the strength of that group could be.
Yeah, Sam is considerably stronger now than he was when he came back off injury. I don't consider him even in that vein anymore. The switch was almost Lundell. It had nothing to do with Bennett. Now, I got left and right-handed center iceman in the 3-hole, so that's a positive. But when he was out, Lundell's line with Verhaeghe and Tkachuk was really good and very prolific. The goal that was scored, the one goal, the tying goal for us in Game 6, it happened to be Lundell had changed for Bennett, and it was Lundell with Verhaeghe and Tkachuk. So I'm just going to leave it. Sometimes it's just that, right? There's a little bit of chemistry going. It doesn't have to go long term. It just is. So we put him back in. We won 2 games. So put Bennett back in. We won 2 games. So there's no reason to change. Game 5, I didn't love that line. I thought they looked disjointed. Got into Game 6, they were just okay. The other lines were going good. We get a line change, they go out, they score and tie the game, and that's it. Just left it. So basically the way it works, I leave it until I don't like it, and then if we don't like it long enough, then you change it.
Front right, Peter.
I'm curious. You would have coached Jack Roslovic and
Head Jack, yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious just what you saw from him there as a young player and kind of how you've seen him grow to where he is now.
The difference between younger like and Trouba. Right, when they come in so young, but I'll stick with Jack. And he fits in that. He came in on the 4th line, and his skill set is not to play the 4th line. Very, very crafty, very quick, can do a lot of things with his head up. He can control the puck around his body and see everybody. That's why he's so good with the 2 guys he plays with. And then they always want more, and there's a good place for him. We, at the time, we had 2 really good offensive lines, but they were young. So he came in just after Ehlers came in, Kyle Connor came in, Patty Laine came in. I got Wheeler, I think probably Brian Little at center, and Scheif. So there's no room for him to get into that top 6. And if you watch Winnipeg play a lot, Adam Lowry's at the 3rd line center. That's a checking line. So he kind of got bridged out. He's a much better player. There just wasn't a place for him. He was probably frustrated. He handled it well. Like, never had an issue with him, but he just kind of got drafted almost at the wrong time for Winnipeg. And sometimes that's phenomenal for the next team, and our whole team's built on those kind of guys, right? They were high picks. They didn't kind of pan out. They got to organizations there wasn't room for him, and boom, we'll find a place for you. He's been good.
Left side, second row, Andrew.
Hey, Paul, after coaching against Vlad Tarasenko for so many seasons, anything stand out or surprise? You know, when you get him in the room and you see him on a daily basis.
I don't know what game it was. So we lose. We got 2 pretty powerful teams in Winnipeg. One had a very young forward group, but the next year we lose in the first round to St. Louis. We start at home and we lose the first 2 games at home, and then we go in to St. Louis and win both, and we come back and we have the lead on them in Game 5. That's my first memory. That, and there's a hole on the ice there on that dot on the goalie's left and right that that you just don't want him. If you're the opposing coach, you just don't want him to have the puck because he gets it off in an incredible, quick manner. What I didn't know the man, how much he loves the game, how much he loves talking about the game. We feel we just got the right bunch of guys for him to where he and Barkov will talk hockey the entire game, and Reinhart, they're just little plays, and they're engaged like that. And I think that's what kind of inspires him in the game, keeps him in the game, and makes him as good as he can be.
Left
Sorry
side.
about the language.
Hi, Coach. A lot of the players were just talking about pregame butterflies that they have. Curious, as a coach, how would you describe yours, if you have any, especially for a big game?
My worst time of day is going to be between this meal and the bus, right? And it's going to be pregame nap is not happening. That's where you do. Did I do it? Are they ready? By the time I'm walking out to the bench and the national anthem is the best part of the day for me. Work's done. This is fun. You pretty much know what you're going to do, right? You're just kind of keeping your mind open to seeing something that you have to react to. So for me, it's always been, I love the national anthem. I love standing behind an NHL bench for the national anthem. It's one of my favorite things. I'm one of the rare, I love when there's two. Like, it just is awesome. And you can feel the energy. It's so much better in the playoffs. This place is going to be buzzing tonight. So that moment for me is my favorite kind of part of prep. I get nervous differently than I think the players do. They get to get it out. I sometimes will have to mentally combat it so I don't bring it to the bench. You know, so mindfulness training, all that stuff, that's all new to me. But yeah, I do it just to try to stay calm and stay right, stay present, all those kind of things. But once that puck drops, I just don't, just let her fly.
We'll take 3 more questions. Back left, Luke.
Paul, did you see the makings of an NHL captain when you coached Jacob Trouba, and when you do video on a play against him now, do you see a different player at all?
These guys are all so different than what they were when they were young, right? It's a rarity, and there's good reason for it, that a player doesn't change. They all come into the league and they got a game. I just got to play my game. No, you don't. I'm not talking about Jake. So what happened with Jake, there's a little bit of the Jack Roslovic story there too. But when he came in, we weren't very good. Hence, we drafted high enough to get a player like Jake Trouba, right? And he ended up playing with Josh Morrissey, about the same age, 2 young guys, and very early. So we had Dustin Byfuglien and Toby Enstrom, and then so we ended up playing Josh and Jake against the other team's best from the time he was 22 years old on. So he got an unusual proving ground. He got to play on a good team, so we would make the playoffs in those years when he started to get a little stronger. And he would play an awful lot against the other team's best. So he and Morrissey were a shutdown pair. We went to the conference final. So that's there. But when he comes into the league, he's a shooter. He's an offensive guy. He's a power play guy. And in his mind, he was still there. He's a right-handed shot, and I got Dustin Byfuglien. So he's not getting out on that power play, right? So there's that. He wanted to play more. He was good about it. I enjoyed him. Hit hard, competes, bit old school. He's got a fantastic sense of when to time the rush, when to jump in and get out. He almost never gets caught. He never gets jammed behind the net or, runs the tops of the circles. You're going, what the hell is he doing? His timing is fantastic. It's a good set of hands to make plays, but they're not necessarily graceful. It's not what you're buying a ticket. You're looking for him to hit somebody, not necessarily toe drag somebody, right? But he has hands on it for sure. He can make that play. But I think what Jake needed to do was find his place. And he has grown into a dominant defenseman and a captain. And would I say I don't know that at 18, 19 years old, you can pick that out of anybody. With Jake, he grew into it. I would say that every guy in that locker room in Winnipeg was a big fan of his, right? Because he played hard, and they liked him for it. And he left there. He left a lot of really good friends there in a positive way. He made some great friendships there.
Take 2 more questions. Left side, second row.
Paul, I've talked to a couple of guys about quantifying pressure, and I think that question is a little bit different in the earlier rounds of the playoffs because the pressure seems to be to get to this point. Once you're here, does that pressure build up, or does it kind of dwindle knowing how close you are to the
That's a
ultimate
really
goal?
good question, because at some point, the joy takes over the pressure, right? Like you're just, this is good. There's 3 other teams left in the National Hockey League. Then you want to feel, you want to feel it, because if you don't have any, you're just lightning in a bottle, Cinderella story. Hey, we're just going out and playing our game. And for some players in your room, they'll process it like that, and that's fine. And other players won't, right? They'll carry it a little bit. You know, we're right there. This is an unusual year. All 4 of these teams can win. They're all strong. They've had good years. I know it doesn't matter. If you just prorate Edmonton's rest of their year, there's 4 elite teams playing. So you want to bring a little bit of that pressure to this game tonight. Make sure you feel it, that you know, that you believe that chance is real. And also, you got to be able to enjoy this. There's no point to the whole damn thing. So let's have some fun when we're doing it.
When Sam Bennett came back to the lineup, we saw 2 different versions of the fourth line, and Kevin Stenlund was the only constant of both of them. I mean, what does it take for a guy to kind of have to get used to playing with 2 different sets of wingers and kind of be as consistent with both of them?
Yeah, I think you'll find that all veteran fourth line players, especially fourth line centermen, are very, very used to it, because you're always pulling from that during injury. So you usually don't take a guy out of the lineup and put him into your top 9. So he comes off your fourth line, which means that guy gets a new winger. And because I don't think we were really beat up this year, we actually stayed fairly healthy. But there's always a new guy going in. And during the year, we always talk about how good it is to have competition for jobs on the fourth line. And then that completely changed. They're competing with each other, not against each other now, right? So 2 new guys come in, let's go. And they're all part of it. And what's been good for us is that we have some speed and size kind of on each side of one pair, and then we've got some experience and hands on another set. So Kevin spent his entire career coming to the rink and finding a new winger every 5th day. So he's handled it well.